Yes, guys, we are live on this Friday afternoon, way ahead of the Game Week 22 deadline. It's still halfway through Game Week 21. I'm at Stockley Park, which you guys will know for where the referees sit. I'm in the same building as where the referees sit, which is pretty cool. I'm joined by regular co-host Mr. Dean Jones. But first, world number 4 in the house, regular chaser, FPL CHAI. How you doing, mate?
From a lurker to a chaser on stream. Great to be here, boys. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you, mate. We're going to chat loads about your season. And also, you've been watching the channel for a while, right?
I have been, yeah. But I only started interacting recently. I've been haggling long enough. It's about time I made an appearance.
Dean, we've seen a few lurkers come out the woodwork in recent years. Another one was Ali Yahangarov, right? Last season, Ali went from lurker to chaser and then coming on at a very similar time of year to CHAI. He was also world number 4 when he came on.
Mate, we are magic over here. It's like, like Pop Idol or whatever they have, where they like make singers. We make FPL stars over here. and CHAI is the latest off the block. So no pressure, mate, but you've
all Ada, don't worry.
Yeah.
CHAI and I first started speaking probably, I don't know, was it 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago, CHAI?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
And when we did, you were world top 10, you're around the top 10. And you always think, at this point in the season, I don't know, it was around game week 15, let's say, has that manager got what it takes to keep at it all season? And obviously this is a game heavily influenced by luck, but also requires a ton of skill. And your ranks, you haven't waned off at all. And actually your ranks are creeping up. At what point do you look at it and go, I can win this? Are you at that point already where you go, I've got a chance? It's a long shot, but you've still got a good chance, right? You've got to have.
Yeah, for sure. I suppose when we were speaking about it at the start, I always kind of put it off the fact that I could win it. But we're getting a bit closer now, and the ranks are definitely going up. And I'm in a good position in terms of my chips. I have all of them. There's no reason why I can't win it. So we'll just see how it goes, see if the luck keeps coming. And I'm just happy to be part of it, I suppose. Every week is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy you're even talking about winning FPL. That's not something that anyone ever goes into this game to actually do, because it's impossible. It just feels like an impossible goal, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. You need to start feeding me some of the scripts that you gave Ali so I can just produce what he does.
Yeah, I definitely had no influence on him actually going to win this game, I can assure you.
One thing Ali did a lot was, look, and in today's show coming up, guys, thank you so much for joining the chat. Dean's going to keep us up to date with all the chat comments. I am keeping my bandwidth low, so don't have YouTube comments open. But we're going to have a look a little bit about just general strategy for the next few weeks. We're going to talk a little bit about blanks and doubles, and with that, some chip strategy. We're going to see CHAI's team, but also just to speak a little bit more general before we see anything. And guys, if you've got any questions for CHAI, let us know. We'll bring some of them up when relevant. Dean, one thing Ali did so well was always play his own game. He'd often update us in the chat being I'm sacking off the idea of Isak this week, who everyone's captaining. He's got a double game week in 36, whenever it was. I'm going Wilson. And it was like, whoa, you're world number 2 and you're making that rogue move. He just consistently played his own game. And that's what CHAI's done. Dean, I don't know if you fully know this. CHAI hasn't had Haaland all season. How mental is that?
Yeah, I mean, that is crazy. I remember you saying that last week. And but you have to ignore the noise if you're going to take this game as seriously as Ali did and as CHAI's going to do now. Then you can't be, scrolling through Twitter or X or whatever.
We've lost Gianni.
Yeah, don't worry. He'll be back. He'll sort out his bandwidth. But you can't be scrolling because your head will just be a mess, won't it? And you'll have all these different ideas and these fears of what you're missing out on. End of the day, you can field 11 players. You can pick, your chip as and when, and you can't worry about anyone else. I mean, I guess that the question would be for you right now, how much interest are you taking in those players that are around you, and how much are you looking at their teams already?
So it's almost hard not to look at their teams, to be honest.
Yeah.
But for me, it's not really an issue because I can only do one transfer a week in my own team. So I just kind of look forward to what I'm going to do, and I only start looking at their teams after I've done what I want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. There's obviously big news in the world of real football that Ivan Toney is making his comeback. A few people asking if you've got him, and if you haven't got him, what are your views on Ivan Toney as an asset?
Yeah, I think Tony is the interesting one. For me, I personally won't be going there, but I can see why you would. I actually spoke about it on a tweet. I think just with the fixtures, I know he's been on grass for like last 8 months, but he hasn't been playing at top level. It's interesting that straight away Frank said he's going to start. I'll be intrigued to see like how he gets on. For me though, I don't think it's an issue to maybe ride 2 or 3 weeks without him, see how he performs. And there are tough fixtures coming up, so be interesting to see.
Yeah, true.
And at the end of the day, like Brentford are struggling right now. They're 3 points away from the relegation zone. I know they have a game in hand, but it's not a team that are doing quite well. So
yeah, I mean, I have to say, I'm in almost zero doubt that he scores on his comeback.
I agree. And I hope he does. I mean,
almost no doubt that will happen. But that's not really the point, is it? Because it's not like, will he score in his first game back? Because he probably will. It's is he still a good pick for, I don't know, the next month, 6 weeks, compared to the other assets out there? It's interesting that you're not going there. So thanks for that.
So I think he's a good pick, right?
Chai? He's got a double.
Yeah. That's the thing. So he's a good pick. It's just compared to some of the other picks, I think the striker positions are kind of hot right now. Like you could go with a load of different routes. And for me, I just don't think compared to the other ones, he's as good.
It's tough because the template front line is Watkins, Solanke, and then a spot for Haaland, whether you've got Haaland or you've got an Alvarez and you're going to go to a Haaland. But there's players now like Tony, João Pedro, a few options. That too. I mean, Darwin, I think, is now potentially an option, seeing his cameo in the cup. But the fact that Liverpool are likely also to double in 25 and there's no Salah, there's a fair few options out there. And I look at players like Watkins, and they're vulnerable for me now. But Chai, you don't own Watkins, right?
I don't own Watkins or Solanke, right? Yeah.
So like that's the highest. Like Watkins is the second highest owned player in the game.
He is, yeah.
Zach is the highest owned. Watkins is higher owned than Haaland. And you don't own him. Have you still got Gabby Jesus, or have you sold?
Unfortunately, yeah, I do. He's playing tomorrow. We'll see how he gets on. But there's one man in particular that I want over Tony, and it's Alexander Isak. I think he's amazing. On paper, I suppose that Villa fixture is not the best. But if you think about it, like Villa play a really high line, and Isak running in behind that is definitely possible. Don't get me wrong; they're really good at catching teams offside, but like, I don't know. I think Newcastle are starting to pick up some form, and I have no problem bringing them in for a game like that.
They scored 5 on the opening day of the season. Do you remember 5-1?
Yeah.
Newcastle beat that Villa high line.
Mm-hmm.
And he took his goal well against City. Like Isak, I look at the Newcastle fixtures now and think, actually, I want to get a Newcastle attacker. I mean, Gordon's easier if your midfield spots are up for grabs and he's cheaper. But both Gordon and Isak, I think, are brilliant options. It's just, if Isak was fit every week, he'd be in all our teams, wouldn't he?
Oh, he'd be ridiculous, man. I really like him.
Yeah, totally. The way he took that goal was outrageous. And he's not quite superstar status, but whatever the tier is just below that, like that's where he's sat right now, isn't it? And I think that's probably good enough for all of us.
Yeah. British 87, Chai's world number 4, but doesn't own the big dogs. Hasn't owned Haaland. Doesn't own Watkins, we've spoken about. And some of your captaincy, Chai, has been pretty rogue as well. Talk us through who you've captained in just the last few weeks and how it's gone and who you're on this week.
So I caught a Son hat-trick. I captained him. I caught a Sterling 38-pointer. I've captained Bruno twice. He's got me home 20 points each time, I think. A lot of people will love that one.
So you're just lucky, basically.
Yeah, I'm really lucky. That's pretty much it.
No strategy at all.
You went Foden a couple of weeks ago, didn't you? When I went Foden, which was pretty differential.
Exactly, yeah. So I think, look, for me, I enjoy playing the game and I enjoy playing it how I play it. You know what I mean? That's like exciting stuff. I suppose if you say that to anyone, they'd be like, that is mad, like. And for me, that's what it's about, playing this game. Sure, I'm high in the world, but I get some enjoyment picking random players every week. I can't lie.
I love that.
The next couple of weeks are weird. Like game week 22, we might not have Haaland back. We don't have KDB, or we don't know if he'll be starting. We won't have Salah and Son. Captaincy in game week 22 is going to be really interesting. Have you looked ahead? Like Richarlison will get a bit of love. Spurs have got a good fixture. Man City play Burnley. Like, do you look at 22 and go, a lot will depend on what I do with Man City players? How do you feel about De Bruyne, Haaland? We get to see them against Spurs in the FA Cup before 22. So if we see Haaland get 20 minutes off the bench, maybe we bring him in. If KDB looks good again, maybe we do the same. And captaincy for that Man City premium will probably be the favourite for most.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Chai?
22 captaincy is going to be tough, I'd say. We'll get a lot of information regarding Salah, though, and the FA Cup fixture, like you said, on the 26th against Spurs. I'm actually looking to go over to that. But it'll be interesting to see if Haaland gets more than 30 minutes, he'll be in my team versus Burnley. But if he plays any less than that...
Oh, sorry.
I'm from Ireland, man. So
I have to Ireland. Yeah, no, I assumed you were. I just thought I'd better check how far you're actually travelling to that game.
For sure. Hopefully I can get sick for it. It's tough going, but we'll see what happens. KDB is an interesting one. For me, a lot of people are saying, the content creators are not going that way. But you have to understand why. Like, in fairness, he's no doubt he's one of the best players in the league. But he came out in the interview and said, like, I'm not ready to play 90 minutes or whatever. And for me, that's enough to put me off, regardless of if he's playing 45 minutes a week. Don't get me wrong, excellent choice. And he could definitely show me up here, but I think he can go elsewhere.
I've just done the fantasy show with Az and Ian. You'll know Ian from this channel, guys. He presented today's show, and KDB was a big talking point. And both Az and Ian were also quite bullish on if he's not going to play 90 or even start games, I just can't consider him. So they were like, the question was, are you on the KDB train? And Az was like, absolutely not. My response was, I'm on the platform. I'm not on the train yet, but I'm on the platform. I'm ready and waiting to, if he looks good against Spurs, and I think he could get a start versus Burnley, I think I might go there. Sure, he's not going to get 90, and he did say he's not ready to start games. But there's 2 weeks between him saying that and him starting against the Burnley fixture. So what do you think, Dean? Like, KDB to be starting soon, do you think, or not? Are they going to be so tight on it because he's so precious?
No, they'll start starting him because he's the best player in the league. I mean, they've got a league title to go and win, and KDB, there is no way he's going to sit there on a bench like beyond like another week. It's just not going to happen. They can try and be as talk about protecting him, and they will protect him, but there are ways to do that without just leaving him sat there until the latter stages of the game. The way that they monitor people's minutes and stuff these days is like such a science that they'll be able to do that. I regret already not getting him, to be honest with you. Like we saw it coming.
You were actually tempted as well, weren't you? You spoke about it last week. And obviously he didn't start, but he didn't need to get the points.
No, and that's what I feel. And like I've obviously brought in Foden, and I'd done it, and then they said that KDB would be playing, and I was annoyed because I could have afforded him, and I'm gonna be going to KDB.
Double in 25 for KDB. Remember, guys.
Mate, he's just an insane footballer. The way he scored that goal. The way he scored that goal against Newcastle is just like so unorthodox, and like it's the only people I've ever seen score like side foots from that sort of is like 5-a-side. Like 5-a-side.
Ronaldinho.
Ronaldinho. So it's like it's just outrageous what he's capable of, and I think I'm going to end up going there. But Chai, I was going to say to you, one of the things I do like about your strategy, it's actually what we wanted the Chasers team to be. This is what we were supposed to be exploring ourselves, because it was supposed to be non-obvious picks. It was supposed to be fun picks, players that we weren't brave enough to pick on a week-by-week basis if we wanted to be taken seriously in the game. And you've done it. Oh, use this beard again.
We chase our heart in, I suppose.
So you are actually like the robot we were trying to create for ourselves here on
so
you are that guy. You are the guy.
I'll try my best. Like I see a lot of people on Twitter. I mean, they take too right. You take the game serious because again, we all love it. That's why we take it serious. But if you're not enjoying the game, then why are you playing it or tweeting about it? You know what I mean? And for me, I tweet about it. I have some crack. Obviously, it helps that I'm doing well. But at the end of the day, like if I wasn't having fun, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. So. If you look at it that way, I mean, if you just do what you want to do and you'll enjoy the game and you'll want to always keep playing, you know what I mean? So,
no, I like it. I like it a lot.
I'm not sure if we've got a poll running, but if we don't, we should have a poll. Do you think you'll own De Bruyne by game week 25 for the double? Do you think you'll own? Yes or no? Just do you think, like, you don't have to commit to I own him now, but do you think you'll have him in 25? Yes or no? A lot of that might hinder on Haaland's fitness. Like if Haaland's not ready for 22, I think loads more will jump on De Bruyne. They'll want a Man City premium for this run of fixtures.
But how do you get Haaland and Salah back?
Well, if you don't have Trent like me, you could go Haaland, De Bruyne, Salah. They're your three. But no Trent, and it means you've got to sacrifice on a Watkins or a Saka. But I'm fine. I mean, you don't have Watkins, Chai, and the way that Watkins is playing, I'm happy downgrading a Watkins to a João Pedro if I need to make that happen. So I think it's an option. I think it's a legit option to jump on triple Man City attack even for that game for the run now, which includes 25, and it will become a bit of a differential. You could say similar with Liverpool. If they double in 25, then how do you get triple Liverpool and triple City? But if you've not got Trent, your triple Liverpool could be Salah, Darwin, Jota. Again, it could be a triple Liverpool attack. There's if you're sacrificing players like Saka and Watkins, these are more expensive than the Liverpool assets. So actually, I think it's manageable. But let's have a look at your team now, Chai, because I want to just touch on your team before we talk wider strategy. So I think we've got a graphic of your team and how it's set for 22, or I can't remember if we're showing that or your points to date in 21. Yeah, here we go. So this is your 21 points.
Yeah.
So talk us through your choices. What were your transfers in, and what was your thoughts with captaincy? Because you, for once, actually went with a template captain pick.
Yeah.
Saka.
So I knew before going into the week who I was going to captain. To be honest, because I was going to captain Pedro if Jesus was injured. So I done a deadline stream, and coming towards the end of the deadline, I made my transfers. And what I done was I bought in Pascal Gross and Estepinian for Trent and Pascal Gross for who was it? Son. That's who it was.
Yeah, same moves as me. We made the same too.
So the thought process was, right, I have a few players that are at risk at rotation. So, for example, Pep Roulette could come in. For me, just going back to KDB, right? This is not how it works, but how I chose not to go with KDB is I said to myself, right, no doubt he is unreal and he's going to do well.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Pep Roulette will always exist. And for 10 million, I can't risk that. So what I'd say to you about KDB is if he hadn't have come on against Newcastle and done what he done, we were expecting that, to be honest. Would you have brought him in? So let's just pretend he didn't do that against Newcastle, right? You're going into a fixture against Burnley, and you want to get KDB. That's how I'd look at that. So why I got Pascal Gross and Estepinian, for me, I needed people that were guaranteed minutes. Pascal Gross, I think he's fairly nailed no matter who comes back in that 100%. Team. And he can play in so many positions. And same with Estepinian. He's coming back to full fitness and he's doing well in cup fixtures. So I just said I'd want to have the funds there from Trent, and he's going to miss this week's fixture. He could be back next week, but I want to put that money elsewhere, I think, because I'll have to get Haaland back.
Yeah, fair point. And you do have Walker. So again, if you, for me, who doesn't have or for anyone out there who doesn't have a Man City defender, and they've only perhaps got Foden, then recruiting KDB and Haaland alongside them is easier for you because Walker's going nowhere. You'd be silly to consider selling Walker. He's a great pick. Foden's probably going nowhere, and Alvarez becomes Haaland. There's your three-man City, and there's no need to necessarily change.
You know what? I'm actually a small bit worried about Walker.
They play 90 every game so far, hasn't he?
Yeah, they play Burnley next game week, but I have a feeling Rico Lewis, because he's really good on the ball, he could start over Walker, give him a rest. I know it sounds kind of silly because they have a lot of time, but I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Rico Lewis playing instead of Walker.
You'd be unlucky, mate. I think Walker has literally played 90 every single week, which is just doesn't happen at Man City. Yeah. And he's also the new captain, isn't he? I'm pretty sure he's he's played 67 minutes in game week 20. Every other one was 90. Maybe.
Yeah. I have to admit though, obviously, Kyle Walker's had this nonsense going on in his personal life. Yeah. And I thought, because that was coming out for the last game, I was kind of I wonder if I wonder if not, dropped or just at least given some mental space to deal with the fact he's on the front page of every newspaper right now. And he wasn't. And the thing with Kyle Walker, and I've met Kyle Walker a few times, and I actually interviewed him one time when he was in the midst of a scandal. I think he was like inhaling that stuff from helium balloons or whatever it was. Whatever you call it.
Yeah, like laughing gas. It was during COVID,
Yeah, what's
wasn't
it
it?
called? Yeah.
Was it? Or
I think
hippie
it was
crack.
the first time. Yeah, hippie crack. That was it.
Mm.
But I remember, like, there was all these headlines, and like I sat down in an interview with Kyle Walker, and he was so different to how I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be a bit arrogant. I thought he was going to be a bit cocky. I didn't think he'd give me much. It was one of the nicest conversations with a footballer I've ever had in my life. And what I learned is like his personal life and his professional life completely unrelated. Like,
Right.
he will, like, football is football, and that nothing will get in the way of him and his performances. So it was interesting. Like, once he started that, I was like, yeah, I don't think he will be left out, because I think that he has the mentality that Pep needs reflected throughout this team in this crucial moment.
Unlike Trippier, England's other right back, who's had similar personal problems, and we've seen it on the pitch.
2 Spurs boys.
In his 2 Spurs right backs, yeah. Yeah, both.
Yeah, look,
love
Trippier
rap.
might be leaving, mate. Like, Trippier's being tracked by Bayern Munich at the moment, and I spoke to someone this morning, and they think he might be sold. Like, they certainly don't think that it's like
Trippier and Eric
unbelievable.
Dyer.
Yeah, so I'm not saying he will be sold, but there's a possibility that Trips doesn't stay at Newcastle, which, I mean, it seems bonkers, doesn't it, when you consider the consistency and the mentality and the leadership, and one of the best players in that team, really. But he's 33, he's got less than 18 months on his contract. They've already got Livramento to replace him. So
and Kane and Dyer and Trippier are best mates as well.
Exactly.
Like,
so
yeah.
I think a bid will come from Bayern Munich just to test the water. And I don't think it'll be loads. Like, we're probably only talking like £15 million.
Yeah.
But he's one of the highest earners at Newcastle too, and they need to start trimming that. So they'll need to start thinking, let's be honest, Newcastle are doing nothing this season now, right? They're not going to win anything. Like, they might win the FA Cup, but probably not, because they got Fulham in the next round. You put no faith at all in Newcastle winning anything this season or achieving anything, to be honest with you. So for him, Bayern Munich suddenly seems like a good move, and for Newcastle, it might be something to think about.
Cheers,
He's
Dean.
got
You
what
put
it
me on
takes.
Trippier for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, good shout, that, Dean. That's really interesting to know. And look, keep your eyes peeled. The transfer window is still open for a couple of weeks, and Trips has shown in the past he's got an appetite or he's got the minerals to go and move overseas. A lot of Premier League players like their comfort zone and don't want to leave their home city or country. Well, Trips has done that with Atletico Madrid in the past. Your team, Chai, 9 points from Martinez. Like, you're just picking up points from players, 7 points from Colwill. Every given week, you can pick out a couple and you go, they're pretty lowly owned. That's huge. Like 12% Martinez, 7% Colwill. You were actually robbed of the bonus points on Colwill.
I couldn't believe it, man. I thought I watched that match. Colwill was amazing. Wasn't he?
He was on 3 bonus, wasn't he? Tell us what happened then. He was on 3 bonus at the final whistle, but they got taken off. So something, he must have given away a foul or something happened for his BPS to drop, right?
So they were under a bit of pressure, and he just gave away a few silly fouls at the end of the game. But then Fantasy actually posted that three players were getting 3 bonus points. So I was like, oh yeah, class, like. And then come 4 or 5 hours later, it's like, oh, he's on 1 bonus. I was cracking, I can't lie.
Oh man, killer.
Goalkeepers, you're spending money here that most aren't. Like, many went for the budget options of Turner, Dubravka, Areola, 2 of the 3, spending a little bit more. And Dubravka will come in and play for you some weeks, but Martinez offers you something that many of us don't have, and 9 points is huge there.
Yeah, I was coming home on a bus and I was watching the match, and I can't believe Calvert-Lewin missed that chance. Like, I actually couldn't believe it. I was like, it's meant to be. You know what I mean? It's one of them ones. But it actually was very similar to the save he made in the World Cup.
With his
Martinez.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with him, to be fair. That's been one thing this season that I've done well with, is my keepers. I've had like 2 or 3 holes with my keepers, and I'd say about 7 clean sheets at this point. Like, so compared to, I know a lot of people on Twitter don't have much luck with keepers. One thing I say is just stick with one, and eventually you get some clean sheets if you play for a decent team.
Dean has said that recently as well. Guys, over 200 of you watching, please do hit the like button. If you're new around here, this is a channel that brings you some really cool guests, and Dean and I are mainstays, but the likes of Chai, and we have various guests come on this channel. So loads of reasons for you to subscribe. And when you do, hit that notification bell, because as you'll realize, we're streaming at different times quite often. And of course, even through the weeks where there's no deadline, CGA on a Friday afternoon, we're still here. So thank you guys for supporting the channel. And any questions, Dean might pick out a few as we move on. Dean, any thoughts on Chai's team before we move on to sort of wider strategy?
I just love the fact that it's different, to be honest. I mean, to be fourth in the game and have Alvarez and Gabby Jesus up front is pretty mad. If you think like from the start of the season, if you were to like throw this forward and project that this would be his team.
And Mateta.
And Mateta, don't forget him.
Mateta, yeah, definitely shouldn't forget the great man himself. But no, it's nice. I mean, Porro is just like a player that I can't get enough of at the moment, and I think, like, honestly, 32% owned, that just seems like an insult, to be honest, because I just don't understand how you can not be on this train by now.
Yeah, will he stay at Spurs, Dean? Well, because there's been rumours like Man City, like he has got, and sorry to say, a big club, Chai. Spurs are a big club, but if we're talking about the tier below elite, like we said with Isaac, well, Porro for me is verging on, could be top tier.
Mate,
and therefore top club, right?
He's loving what he's doing. He loves Ange. He loves Tottenham.
He does.
Like,
he loves Spurs.
He's been brought in, and like they had such high hopes for him quickly. And actually, in his first, in his early days at Spurs, there were a few people. Yeah, a few people
slated. Yeah,
but it was like, hang on. Anyone that has seen this guy play knows that this is going to work. Like, he's too good for this not to work. And like the change of manager was probably ideal for him, to be honest. Like he's absolutely been flying since Ange came in. I see absolutely no chance that anyone else would be getting Pedro Porro anytime soon.
Yeah, I think
4 years old, Chai. One of your favourite players?
He's amazing. Yeah, for me, the thing with Porro has been his confidence as he's been in the Spurs shirt. At the start, he got a load of flack, and a couple of people are shooting shots, and he was definitely trying to shoot back. And now he's showing them up for sure. But yeah, the main thing for me is confidence. He's not making fellas left and right. I've never seen a right back playing like that. Like, he's not afraid to take a shot as well, and he's on all of our set pieces. So for me, he's amazing, man. And I absolutely love watching him.
He's the better FPL asset than a doggy, partly because of all the set piece threat, and which is where he gets a lot of his bonus and some of his points from. But if we look at just open play, a doggy is actually as good. And next season, Porro will be probably priced 0.5 or even $1 million more than a doggy. So both will be excellent value because they both offer something in attack too, right? And like Spurs' fullbacks now, if they can keep them, like 24-year-old Porro, I don't know how old a doggy is, younger than that. Like, they're just locked in for the next decade if they want. Like, it's so good.
And after signing Udogie and Sarr on new contracts as well, I mean, the future for Spurs. I was only saying it to one of my boys in the group chat today, like, I'm really excited for the season that's coming. And it's good to see that we're making moves in January. It's not usually something we do. Usually we go 3 transfer windows without buying someone. But
yeah,
I think for Spurs it is exciting, and I'm delighted to be a fan.
So like last night, I was speaking to a contact at Spurs, and he started telling me about Antonio Nusa, and he was like, you should probably write something on it. And I was like, is it that far? And he's like, it's not like on the verge. He's like, but you're safe to start going with this one. So last night I put together this story about Spurs having intent to sign Antonio Nusa, and I thought, right, I'll send that in the morning.
Tell us a bit about him.
Oh, he's an 18-year-old from Club Bruges. He's a wide player, typically plays on the left. He can actually play across the front line, but you're going to see the best of him on the left. Anyway, I didn't just file the story. Like, first thing this morning, I was like, oh, I'll drop the kids off at school and I'll come back and do it. Bear in mind, that's still like 8:45. I got back from the school run. Fabrizio Romano has tweeted that Antonio Nusa talks are on with Tottenham, and it's on the yellow ticker on Sky Sports. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. Like, it doesn't even seem that big. And to be honest, I still don't think it's quite as far along as is perhaps being played out. But anyway, to get back to the point, what a player. And if this is actually, like, as it was spelled out to me, like, he fits their long-term vision. So, yeah, they've just bought Timo Werner in. Like, that's great for right now. And maybe Werner does work out long term, but that's not really the plan. That's not really the intent around it. That would be a bonus, if anything. Nusa is an exact look to the future of what Tottenham are looking to build right now. And honestly, just go onto YouTube, look at a Nusa highlights reel. It sounds like Chai's already done this. He is ridiculous. He's
Lads,
such a good player.
I swear to God, like, you're gonna call me crazy for saying this, but the way he moves is almost like Neymar. He's really, really agile. He's 5'11" and he is ridiculous. Yeah, you made a really good point. For Spurs, I think is really good for our vision. With the likes of Werner, he's on a 6-month contract and we have a 15 to 20 million buy option. I think it'd be really interesting to see what happens there, because he can play on the left. And with Solomon as well, it'll either be Solomon or Werner. Like, it'll put good pressure on them to perform for the rest of the season, I think. The idea with him, if we brought him in, is we bring him in and then we loan him back out to Club Brugge. He doesn't want to leave Club Brugge this season. Yeah. So it'll be the exact same situation with Udogie and Pap Matasar. So definitely be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, like Norway, a few people are chatting about it in the comment, like,
he's meant to be a superstar.
What a future that they've got. Like Nusa, Bob, Haaland, Odegaard, like, this is a team that is primed to have a special, decade, like, potentially.
Golden generation.
I hope that they can live up to that. Rich says, is Norway the new breeding ground for Uber talent? British says, I love the Scandies. And it's going to be fascinating to see how these guys do. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there to identify someone that is going to fit this Spurs future. Honestly, I think if you consider what Ange inherited when he came in like 6 months ago,
and injuries,
and what we'll be seeing in Tottenham a year, 18 months from now,
give us a pre-season as well,
unidentifiable. Like, I don't think there'll be that many players left from when he first came in, to be honest. And the ones that are will be completely transformed from the versions that were actually there in the first place.
I've never seen such a quick transition.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, hit the ground running, didn't they? Like, straight away, like they just adapted. But it was interesting. Players like Sarr and Basuma instead of Højbjerg and Skip. Højbjerg and Skip can do the sideways pass. They can do the Conte stuff, but they can't do the Postecoglou stuff. And against United, we saw them trying, and it's difficult for them. So as you say, Dean, it's going to be a complete reshuffling of the pack, isn't it?
Totally. Look, Dario says, Leah, but Mudryk highlights also looked amazing. This is different. Mudryk
is amazing too, by the way. Just give Mudryk a little bit of time, team.
Mudryk joined the wrong team. Mudryk
at the wrong time.
At the wrong time. Like, when that deal was originally coming together, it was at half the price at a different club, and that was fine. And then suddenly everything changed, and of course I don't blame him for taking the move. Like, that's not the real problem here. The problem is he didn't fit everything else that was going on, and it was an unstable team and an unstable system. So Mudryk isn't a bad player, he just isn't in the right setup at the moment. So his highlights did look amazing because Mudryk is an amazing footballer.
Yeah. And also Nusa's only 18 and he's only going to be
only 18 and he's like going to be like 25 million pounds. So not that same pressure, same pressure at all.
Nice. Watch this space, guys. Just to continue on the Spurs team then, before we look at chip strategy, one question I've got for Chai. He doesn't own Richarlison, who has scored something like 6 goals in 7 games. I don't own Richarlison. I've just spoken about him a lot this morning on the fantasy show. Feels like a no-brainer, and so many are moving in their direction. The reason I've not gone to Richarlison, which is silly because the points are there to be had now, and many I think will captain him in game week 22, which is completely fair enough. Likely on penalties as well, with no Son in the team. When Son is back, Chai, there's 4 attacking spots outside the fullbacks at Spurs, right? Kulu nailed, Madison nailed, Son nailed, whether he's number 9 or on the left. There's 1 more attacking spot up for grabs. If Richarlison is scoring, then sure, it's his. But if he has a couple of off games, there is Solomon, Brennan Johnson, Timo Werner, and Richarlison. That's 4 names competing for 1 spot. Now, sometimes that spot will be on the left and sometimes it will be number 9, depending on the opposition and where Son plays. Because Postecoglou has said sometimes Sonny will be central, sometimes left, based on opponents. So the only thing that puts me off buying Richarlison, is I can't afford him anyway, is could he become a rotation risk when Sonny is back because there's only that 1 free spot up for grabs? Or do you think he's nailed?
Yeah, I don't really worry about Richarlison's minutes in terms of starting. I think he'll start pretty much every game. My worry is that he comes off in the 60th or 70th minute, like with the likes of what you said, Brendan Johnson and Werner. For me, there's two reasons why I didn't get him. Like I said, I need players that are going to play 90. I can't risk taking rotation. Like if you look at the players in my team, you have Colwell, who with Chilwell back now, and the two Chelsea boys are likely to blank in game week 26. So I had to look in the future. I also have Salah on my bench, who will blank in game week 26, and Porro. So if I brought in Richarlison, I'd have to make a few more transfers to get him out. For me, I had no doubt that Richarlison is going to do well. Look, Spurs are amazing. We're making a lot of chances for Richarlison, and he is on penalties for the time being. But I also wanted to leave room for James Madison, who I'd prefer to have.
Yeah, okay. What do you reckon to that, Dean?
Yeah, Madison's on the verge of a comeback, and I think we all need to watch that one closely. I underestimated him when he came into Tottenham in the first place. I thought he would need longer to find his groove, but I think I overlooked the fact that everyone was new to Tottenham because it was a completely new system and a new manager. So he didn't need time to settle in at all because everyone was doing that. And Madison is the kind of life and soul of that team. And even though they've done all right without him, when he's there, it's a different party. It's so much more fun.
I said don't pick him at the start of the season. I watched the Spurs pre-season and Madison didn't look great, but neither did Spurs. But by game week 1, that had completely flipped. And I was like really slow on bringing Madison in, and then obviously got injured. So yeah, he's definitely the heartbeat. And Kulu's done so well playing centrally as well, by the way. Like number 10, like Kulu's adapted and clearly can play that role. But going out to the right, I think that front four is going to be fun for Spurs now. Do bear in mind, guys, there's a very good chance Spurs blank in 26 because, well, actually, let's talk about the blanks. We've got a graphic to show you. 26 will be a blank game week because of the EFL Cup. The two teams that are likely to get to the final, according to the bookies' odds, are Chelsea and Liverpool. We don't have a graphic for 26, but just to talk you through it, Chelsea and Liverpool will therefore have double game weeks rescheduled. The Chelsea double game week will come probably after 26, but the Liverpool double for the EFL Cup final could drop in 25. There's a very good chance Liverpool double in game week 25. So just bear that in mind, everyone. If they do, we're going to want triple Liverpool and triple City. Game week 29 also becomes a big blank game week. This will be the biggest blank of the season. We're looking at 5 blank game weeks. So around 5 fixtures expected based on the bookies' odds. Dean, at the moment, we know Burnley-Brentford is the only game that's 100% in. All the others are based on what we see in the FA Cup next round, of which will be played, obviously, way ahead of 29. This graphic is from Will at Losers AV Losers. Definitely a must follow. But a lot of those in red and orange, they're likely to be off. So with that in mind, I'm thinking my plan will be to try and get a team out and not use my free hit. And then maybe wildcard not long after. But there's not many sexy fixtures there that are likely to be on. I mean, Arsenal, Chelsea, Luton, Forest, Fulham, Spurs is the obvious one. You go triple Spurs if you could, maybe. Maybe Newcastle away at Palace is an okay fixture for Newcastle, but it's not that sexy without Liverpool, without Man City, without Brighton.
No, absolutely not. No, the Liverpool and Man City ones are obviously a bit of a killer, and you know, even if you wanted to try and be a bit different and think, okay, is Højlund about to come into form? Is Rashford about to come and do something? You're like, well, can't even bank on Man United. Yeah, I mean, it'd be still being a big risk, but if you think, oh, Sheffield United at home, surely there's a good chance as any that they return, and you're not going to be going there. So suddenly, I mean, Arsenal v Chelsea is an interesting game because Arsenal have to go and win that game. Like, that is such an important game in their season. But same old. Who are you picking from that team? Like, if they are going to go and get that win, who is it? Like, I keep saying Odegaard, don't I? I just keep saying it week after week after week. But I just don't trust Saka to decide a game like that. I mean, Chai, you've got Saka. Are you relying on him? Are you backing him in that game?
I back Saka, but a large factor of that is because he's on penalties. If I could choose between Odegaard and Saka, I'd be with you. Odegaard looks amazing, to be honest. Do I think Saka is a killer and he'll be that player that gets me a return every week? Probably not. But compared to some of the other picks in the league, I think he's up there for sure still.
Will he be in your team in 29, Chai? Do you think you'll have Saka by this point? Or will he be one of the sacrificial lambs as you try and squeeze in more Man City and Liverpool players for their double?
It's really hard to say. I have no issue going with only 2 Liverpool players for the double. It really depends on what happens with Salah, though. Like, if I get rid of Salah, I have no reason to get rid of Saka. I'll have all the money in the world I need. Because I don't have Trent as well. So we'll need to get some more information, I say, by the Game Week 22 deadline.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a way away still, isn't it? This, it's points, and there's a very high chance that Ivan Toney is a good pick by Game Week 29. By the way, like that
for sure. Yeah,
that is so Toney's the only player that doubles in 25, doesn't blank in 26, and doesn't blank in 29. So the only player that's bulletproof for those 3 rounds is Toney. The annoying thing for Toney is the double in 25 is against, I think, Man City and Liverpool. But still, like he seems to score against, historically, Brentford score against the big teams. So we don't have to worry too much about the blanks in 29 and 34. The reason I guess we're showing you this isn't to make decisions now based on your teams. Go, oh, I need to get Toney in, or I need to not get Richarlison in because he'll have the blanks. It's more just to go wider chip strategy. So I'm going to show you now a new graphic, which is the 2 common chip strategies that I think will be used this season. So just to run through them, and Chai, I want your thoughts as to whether or not you're looking at either of these strategies. And it's a little bit too early to commit to a chip strategy, and I'm not going to yet. But I've got the strategy I think I want to play, and then that might be executed slightly differently based on what we see in the cups. So triple captain is obvious. Both these chip strategies come with Game Week 25. It's when probably Liverpool, but definitely Man City will double in what will be a small double game week. So it's not a game week that lends itself, I don't think, to the other chips. So you could free hit and bench boost, but the vast majority will see that one as the obvious. It's Haaland, it's Salah. For Salah, it will be 2 good fixtures. For Haaland, okay fixtures. The preferred chip strategy I've got is the first one, which would be dead ending around that blank in 29. So you buy, you sell good players and you buy players you don't want long term, but ones that have fixtures. And then out of it, you wildcard, whether that's in 30, 31, 32. 34 and 37 are the 2 other big double game weeks. So one is a bench boost, probably 34 because it's closer to the wild card. So again, when you wild card, you build your 15-man squad ready for the bench boost. And then in free hit, 37. The opposite to that is similar start, but you could free hit in 34. And then you could wild card in 36 to set yourself up for a 37 bench boost. Chai, which out of those do you prefer? And are you looking at one or the other, or are you completely just haven't even looked at it yet? It's too early to say.
So if I had to choose between either of these, I prefer the second one. But myself, I'm doing something a small bit different. With you on the triple captain. See, I think there's so many question marks. It's kind of hard to say right now. But looking at it on paper, right, for me, I think triple captain Game Week 25 is the one. You'll have Salah, hopefully, and Haaland, hopefully, as well. So that'll be a toss-up that week. Or Darwin Núñez. Free hit. I think free hit is the one where we'll see a bit of variation. I think free hit is probably better in Game Week 34. And the reason is because it's a double and a blank. So it's easier to navigate a free hit in a week where there's a double and a blank, rather than a week where it's just a double. Because you can obviously just take out all the players that are blanking. And then I like wildcarding in about Game Week 30 because you can dead end your team into the 29 blank. I do like that strategy. For me, the hardest part is knowing when to bench boost. I know a lot of rotation happens near the end of the season, so I'm unsure about that chip. But free hit, I think 34 might be the best.
So at the moment, your loose plan. Talk us through double Game Week 25, free hit 34. When would you wildcard and bench boost? Bench boost 37, 30. But wildcard early in 30.
Yeah. I would say
the problem with the strategy too here is we often play the wildcard and bench boost next to each other. The whole idea is you're bringing players in will play twice or will definitely play. You build your 15-man squad to then bench boost and really, really maximize that bench. The problem is with playing your wildcard so late in the season, if you're playing 36, you don't get that fresh, shiny new team for 7-8 weeks to maximize the points over a longer period. You might only get it for 3 weeks. Whilst playing it in 30 and dead end into 29 makes complete sense. But Chai, your strategy would be wildcard around 30, but still benched in 37. there's a big gap there between wildcard and bench boost, which could mean you have bench players that lose their spot or players that get injured, and you might therefore struggle to get the optimal 15 double game weekers out, for example. But every chip strategy comes with positives and negatives, and that's the obvious negative to yours.
Yeah, for sure. But for me, like, I have no issue using the bench boost in a single game week if they have good fixtures and they're going to play. Obviously, a luxury would be that they double, but I don't know. It'll be hard to navigate, but again, we need more information for me.
Dean, do you look at this and think you're glad you've got all these chips to go at a more template strategy this year? Because historically, you may have gone early on one or two of them.
Yep, I've been holding back, mate. I've resisted so far, and it's because I always mess up and then I can't correct things at a later stage. And I have never, and I will never plan like you have here. My brain does not function like this. But the reason I've liked doing this show is because I can get an idea of where you are, and then it can kind of like set a seed in my mind for when I might. Well, knowing when you do it, knows like I probably won't do the same time as you. Like,
no, you probably won't. Yeah,
I would. But to know that people that play it as serious as you are thinking along these lines, I think is good for all of us. I saw someone just say a minute ago, "Chai, don't give away your secrets." ISG said that he's already worried about you.
I'm just putting everyone off. Don't worry.
Yeah, but
mind games, double bluff.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? Like, nobody's going to be sat here, like one of his Chai's rivals isn't going to be sat here, like writing down all the notes of exactly what he thinks, because it's going to change. Because we all know that, we're on what we are, 22 or something, and there's
10, 12 game weeks away. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You don't actually know you're even going to transfer in next game week. Like, things change.
It's going to change. Injuries will set in. The fixtures will, we'll have a snowstorm, and all the games will be called off, and there'll be, there's loads of
Queen will die.
The Queen will die again. Yeah, exactly. But it is interesting that you map this out, because like this is clearly. Do you think that actually did Ali do this? Like, what's been the typical stance of somebody that would go and win the game? Would it be this clearly mapped out and they would follow it through, or do you think it has to be more fluid?
For Ali and Chai, yes, fluid, but still with a loose plan, which they would be happy to change. But FPL has been won in the past by more casual managers who have had a complete one-off fluke season and actually not shown much pedigree either side of that or ever again since. Ali was different. And a few in the past, like Ali, have been very good managers. Simon March is another one who won it way back when, who's a very good manager. Ben Crabtree, similar. Ali finished 215th the year before he won it. Chai had an amazing rank last year too. So mapping it out, yes. And even with you, Dean, like, you won't commit to one of these plans. And I bet you play a different strategy to me this week. But what you will do now, and hopefully anyone watching, is you'll identify the blanks and doubles. And whether you do the same chips around that blank or double is still in the air, but you will use your chips around them. So we know, for example, people are going to use chips in 25, in 30 off the back of the blank, in 34 and 37, which are the two biggest doubles of the season. One thing I would say is we saw in the previous graphic, game week 29 being the biggest blank of the season. We expect there to be 5 fixtures. Only 10 teams play. Many will have the urge to go, I've only got 7 players, therefore I'm going to free hit. But when it's a low upside week, let's just go back to that last page just so I can show what the fixture list could look like. Free hitting in a week with low upside makes no sense, because when you free hit, you want to get 30, 40 points in an ideal world on top of your normal team. So if you free hit in a double game week, straight away it's like, I could get an extra 30, 40 points. Yet if you free hit in game week 29, when there's 5 fixtures, of which are mostly kind of lower half teams, you might get an extra 3 or 4 players out. Instead of 7, you get the 11. It's low ceiling players anyway. So I have free hit in blank game weeks before, but this season it feels like the free hit will be much better used for higher upside. Do you agree with that, Chai?
Yeah, I would say though it depends. Like, if you can only field 5 players for the blank in 29, I mean, you're going to gain 30 points by free hitting. You know what I mean? So it really depends. Like, if I come into game week 29, like I said, with 5 players, I will be free hitting in 29. You can't go into that empty handed. And that way you can change the strategy to build up doublers in your wildcard 30 for 34 and 37 and have a plan transferring in players. So again, that's a way you can change around how your team is. Again, everyone will be different. For example, if I didn't have my free hit, you'll have to be thinking how you're going to do things completely different. You know what I mean? You'll have to have players for 29. So I suppose being in a position where we have all of our chips is a blessing, thankfully.
Yeah.
And I think whatever way you go, you'll gain points on someone that doesn't have the chips.
Yeah, Mark makes a good point, which we should probably address for like game week 37. He says game week 37 is a no-no with team rotations and nothing to play for.
Fair
there
point.
is that angle to it, but I guess the flip of that, Mark, would be there'll be some teams with everything to play for, and they're the teams that you would ultimately be going to aim for.
Yeah, you swerve Crystal Palace because you've no idea what they're going to do, but you go on Arsenal and City because they're going for the title or the two in the relegation scrap.
Yeah, exactly.
We should do a poll. I think there's still a bit of time. I don't know how the De Bruyne poll got on, but we'll do another one around chips. How many chips have you used? 0, 1, 2, or 3+ to date? I'm interested to know how many of the chasers, how many of you guys have used any of your chips, or if you're all sat there with like us three with all 4. And I will include the wild card as a chip, guys. Wildcard 2 is effectively a chip. And by the way, thank you for supporting the channel and liking and subscribing. Do hit those buttons, guys. And when you do subscribe, always do so with the notification bell. But yeah, we'll come away from chip strategies, other than the poll, and have some sort of closing strategy thoughts from Chai. In terms of the run-in, Chai, you've not owned Haaland all season. If you think he's fit for Burnley and he gets half an hour versus Spurs, do you think he'll be in your team? Like, I know you've always been open to owning Haaland, and you're very likely to buy him soon, right?
I would say likely, yeah. But I think he can survive without Haaland against Burnley, especially if he's not fully fit.
Not getting 90, is he?
Yeah, for example, like I've went 20 weeks without him. I think he can go one game week against Burnley. You won't die, you know what I mean? So if you have plans elsewhere, you'll be fine.
You won't die. I love it. That's the name of an FPL channel for next week.
At the end of the day, like if it means you have a bit more fun, don't go with Haaland and go for it. I mean, why not?
Dean, how are the comments looking? Are the chasers having a good time this afternoon?
They are having a good time, mate. Madeline says, I've used only the first wild card and I'm 40k overall. So that's very good indeed. FPL Copycat says, no chip shoes. There's quite a few new names today, by the way. There's, I think Chai might have brought in a new crowd. Nandish, Nandish is a new name, but didn't actually make a point right there. Mr. T says, Game Week 26 is going to be tricky for some with triple City, Liverpool, and 1 from Spurs, Chelsea. That's a good point. Paolo asks, any news on Salah's injury? I haven't actually looked too closely into this. How bad was that? How bad was that?
So he was a hamstring.
Yeah, it looked like a hamstring injury, but he came out after the game. Cameras were following him, of course, and he said he's grand. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean he is grand, but I think that's a small bit of confirmation. It's not serious, I would say. He might miss the next game. For me, look, I'm not going to pretend like I'm a doctor or something, but I think it might be a grade 1, maybe grade 2 at worst, which would be 1 to 3 weeks for a grade 1 and 3+ for a grade 2. We'll see what happens if he plays in the next game.
You sound like a doctor.
Yeah,
a man of many trades.
Brilliant. Love that, Chai. You're clearly very engaged to be talking grades on tears of hamstrings. So this is just shows
it's more in the world, mate. That is what happens to you.
Amazing stuff. So Chai, just talk to us about a little bit about your channel. You've started producing your own content, and we can all subscribe to FPL Chai now, guys. So Chai, do write something in the chat so we can easily click on your logo and hit the subscribe button on your channel as well. What are your plans with it?
So I started my channel, of course, and it's been going well so far. I just wish I could pump out more content. Last Monday I started a new job, so I've been fairly busy, but fortunately I suppose it's been fairly quiet in the FPL community, so there's been no rush for content. I would say there's a video coming out Sunday, and if any of you want to subscribe, go for it. I'm happy to have as many as possible, and I'll try my best to upload as much content as I can.
Good stuff. Dean will be a regular regular lurkers in Chai's channel now.
We will, yeah, definitely. Oh, you've been great. Like, it's been a really good hour. Like, you've spoken really, really well in terms of not just your own situation, but I think we've all benefited from hearing about your tactics around the game so far and your knowledge around just watching the matches as well. And I think actually we'll all come away from this feeling a little bit more free, because I think no matter how much you try to steer away from obvious picks and worry about how many people are picking Ollie Watkins or whatever, like, you are proof that you won't die if you don't.
Yeah,
pick
you
these
won't
players.
die.
I'm taking that. That's my big anecdote from this, is that Chai says, if I don't pick Haaland, I won't die. My team can still be okay. So thanks for that, mate. Like, that alone is worth a lot.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. I mean, great chat. I knew it would be some buzz going on with Bowie, and I'm just happy to speak FPL again. It's been fairly quiet recently, so it's good to break the ice.
Love that, mate. It's been a pleasure having you on, as always. Thank you so much to all of our chasers in the chat. We'll be back next week as normal. Next week we'll feel more normal as we count down to 22. We review all the FA Cup, which is going to be so important. Like, the Premier League action. We'll be reviewing the second half of the game week, and then we'll be looking forward to the FA Cup. We won't be ready to review it just yet. Still feels a while for game week 22, but with AFCON, Asia Cup, the transfer window, there's still loads going on. So guys, for now, make sure you subscribe to Chai. Follow him on Twitter as well. Very active there. But for now, we're going to say our goodbyes. If you're just tuning in, go back and watch the last hour. But for now, he's been Dean. He's been FPL Chai, world number 4. Incredible. I've been Janny, and we've all been chasing green arrows. See you later.
Bye.